Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New coming at you on this hump day, Wednesday, hump day. So let's get it. First and foremost, as always, want to send out positive vibes to everybody. Hope that you're having a great week and continue to have blessings throughout the week. So now that we got that all out the way, we already know. So as we all know, yesterday, the Los Angeles Lakers took on the likes of the New York Knicks, and the Knicks came into the Great Western Forum. The Knicks came into the Staples Center on yesterday, and they had a lot to play for. They had a whole lot to play for because the Knicks coming into yesterday were the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. And with that being said, prior to the game, and they might not have been scoreboard watching, but of course, as everybody knew, with the absence of Jaylen Brown, that the Miami Heat would indeed take care of business and move up into the standings. So with that being said, if the Knicks they knew coming into that game, if they did not beat the Lakers, that they could fall from the 4 all the way to the 6th spot, which means that you just one spot out of the play-in tournament. Now, because they are, I want to say, 3 games in front of Boston, I just don't really think that that's a threat of them actually falling to have to be in a play-in game. But at the end of the day, they have not clinched a playoff berth yet because of this play-in tournament in a way that it's set up. And just technically, mathematically, they could still fall into the play-in tournament and very well be eliminated and not make the playoffs, because the play-in tournament is not the playoffs, if that makes sense. So anyway, the Lakers, as we all know, took care of business and barely inked out a win against the New York Knicks, which we're going to get into more here in just a little bit. But since the Lakers did come out on top, that dropped the Knicks down to 6. So they were playing very hard to try to maintain that, and they even had, of course, Spike Lee courtside, which is no telling how much those tickets cost. I should have pulled it up on the forum. I don't know why I keep saying the Great Western Forum. That's just what I grew up watching the Lakers play in out in Inglewood, which is going to soon to be the Clippers' home once they blow that up and add a new one built, which is coming along nicely last time I was in that area. But anyway, they came into the Staples Center last night trying to take care of business, and Julius Randle played like not only the all-star that he is and the great season that he's having, but also with a chip on his shoulder, considering he used to be a Los Angeles Laker, so he really wanted to put on the show. But I tell you what, this was one of those good old school kind of 90s games where they just slowed it down, and I kind of knew, and if everybody wanted to win some money, and I'm sorry if I didn't come on yesterday on the show prior to the game and tell everybody, listen, take the under on this game, because you got the number 1 defensive team going against the number 4 defensive team. And hell, it went to overtime. And it's funny because during the game, I was thinking, damn, of course it's gonna stay to the under. My money looking good. But at the end of the day, I said, what if this thing go to overtime? I said, if this thing goes into overtime, then we may be looking at, if this thing goes into overtime, we may be looking at the over. However, even though it did go into overtime, it still did not go into the over. It still remained under. And that just shows you how great both teams plays defense, because both of them is not going to give you anything easy. You're going to have to fight for every shot, every possession, every pass is contested, every passing lane is clogged, every person is covered. Knicks do a great job of denying the basketball. Anthony Davis was 8 out of 26, which is not a great game, but it was because he could not get the ball in his sweet spot. And as we all know, the Lakers are already down Dennis Schroeder, so they minus a ball handler. And Caruso has been doing a great job as of late, filling in that role. Actually played great last game in the Lakers' victory against Phoenix, and he played really well. But now, of course, he gets injured, and I don't have an update on his foot injury. I apologize. I didn't see anything on the wire pertaining to his foot injury. So if you guys know anything more than what I know as far as how serious it is, how long it is going to keep him out or potentially keep him out, then of course, if you don't mind, please put that down in the comments below so others can know, as well as myself, because I know for some reason a lot of people don't like the Caruso, But me, for one, I believe in this game. I believe in his defensive tenacity. I believe in his heart. I believe in his playmaking ability. And, of course, I believe in his shot making when it really counts, because the boy does not shy away from anything. So I think when Caruso went down with only had played 7 minutes in the game, I wasn't aware of it at first. But when he did go down, then that caused some concern, of course, for anybody that was watching the game, because everybody knew that the Lakers did not have Dennis Schroeder or LeBron James, and now you're going to have to depend on THT for the whole game in order to distribute the ball. And I kind of like what the Lakers did, because they didn't just depend on THT bringing the ball up court. I mean, they just played by committee. So whoever got the ball, they just pushed it. Even Anthony Davis, if he got rebounds, he leaked out. You know, even Drummond a couple of times got the rebound and took the ball up floor, which kind of surprised me. But speaking of Drummond had a great game last night. I want to say he had 16 or 17 rebounds, which was huge, especially against a team like a Knicks, because they're going to deny you so many opportunities, and those opportunities come very hard when you're playing against a great defensive team. So for him to have 16 or 17 rebounds, that's 16 or 17 extra chances for points for the Lakers, especially on the offensive glass. So Drummond had a hell of a game. As you all know, Montrezl Harrell only got 4 or 5 minutes, which, you know, I feel bad for Montrezl, because he is a great player. He has a high motor. I think when LeBron James come back, you're going to see an uptick in Trez's minutes, just because a person like LeBron James can get Montrezl the ball down on the block where he needs it in his sweet spot, can get him easy alley-oops, and get him the ball in the post right where he needs it, right on that block. And they did put in Trez and Gasol again last night. I don't want they went for a large window. They maybe played 4 or 5 minutes together. Of course, Gasol was a -10 last night. Trez was a +1, but Trez only played 4 minutes. And with Gasol being a -10, that was because I want to say the lineup that they had late at the beginning of that second quarter was actually looking really well. But then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Knicks went to more of a small ball lineup. And I have to give credit to Frank Vogel, because Frank Vogel actually made in-game adjustments last night to where he countered whatever New York was trying to do. And as a result, you saw that Trez didn't get any more playing time for the rest of the game, because when you have players like Julius Randle and a Taj Gibson, which not saying that Trez couldn't handle his business with Taj Gibson, and I think he could have, but I think the main reason Marc Gasol got more playing time last night was because his ability to play on the high post, his ability to distribute the ball, because there were not any ball handlers for the Lakers after Caruso went down. It was just THT. So at this point, you have to get Marc Gasol involved, because he's capable of getting assists and getting the hockey assist and spreading the ball around the floor and giving the Lakers some easy shots. And I mean, I also want to take time out to say how great was Anthony Davis's defense on Julius Randle in the waning minutes of the game. He had 3 possessions to where he totally shut him down, where the Knicks actually could have won the game when it was tied before it went to overtime. Julius Randle did get by AD because that was a hell of a play Thibodeau drew up, to where they inbounded the ball to Randle and he could hit a cut without AD being able to stay in front of him, because when he caught the ball, he immediately went to the basket, and maybe AD wasn't expecting that. But to AD's credit, he was able to get back into the play and kind of alter that shot a little bit. But on the other possessions, especially that last possession, to where they could have actually won the game instead of going to OT, I mean, it was a shot clock violation. He was all over Julius Randle like flies on shit. I mean, he was on Julius Randle like, I mean, man, that was some great defense. He kept his hand high. He kept his feet set. He went laterally. He never let Julius get by him, and he forced him actually to give up the ball. So instead of Julius Randle forcing a tough shot, he passed it up. But at this time, it was a little bit too late. At one point, when the Knicks went up by 10 in the fourth, you really thought that they were going to take control of the game. But Lieberton Vogel, with his matchups, he actually did well. And Andre Drummond and Anthony Davis actually played well together last night, because Anthony Davis, he has great eyes to where he was giving Andre Drummond just the easy scoops in the lane for easy dunks and easy finishes. And that's what I was expecting from the beginning when Andre Drummond came along. And I think some of us, including myself, have been giving Andre Drummond a little bit of a hard time, because you have to think he was in a totally different system. You know, when he was with Cleveland, in Detroit, it was just simple. He was one of the primary options to where, okay, we're just going to come down and get a ball to Andre right on the block and let him go to work. Whereas this is not the case. That's not the Lakers style of offense. The Lakers like to move the ball a lot. And speaking of which, you could tell last night, even without a primary point guard or a ball handler, the Lakers just played kind of like hot potato. Let's just keep passing the ball, keep passing the ball, keep passing the ball until we got an open shot. If you got a lane, drive. If they shut down the lane, kick. You know, they played simple, almost like blacktop basketball. They played simple, almost like playground basketball, so to speak. But anyway, the Lakers handled their business, needless to say. So just as I predicted, just like I've been saying, I said that they would more than likely lose to Portland, even though that was a very close game that could have went either way. That maybe they could have pulled out and they wouldn't be in the situation they are in now. But then they also played. They beat the Suns, as I predicted. And then they inked out a victory against New York, as I predicted. But I also thought that LeBron James would be back. So for the Lakers to beat the number 4 team in the East, who has a hell of a defense, minus Caruso, minus Dennis Schroeder, minus a LeBron James, I think is a testament to what the Lakers are capable of. Of course, a lot of people gave LeBron James hell on yesterday, saying, oh, he's scared to come back against the Knicks. Come on, man. Do the Knicks look like they're that frightening that LeBron James is really worried about it? LeBron just wanted a whole day extra, and I almost want to say, I don't want to say he wanted to lose that game, but I don't think the Lakers are really worried about a play-in tournament. I think actually, and I know it sounds crazy, they probably would rather have that 7th seed and take on the Phoenix Suns, because you see how easily they dismantled them the other night, and they are a great matchup for the Lakers. The only thing is the Lakers would have to beat Golden State, and Golden State, y'all, almost slipped up last night, and they had a marvelous come-from-behind victory, even though Steph was like 1 for 10 from 3, which, you know, usually that doesn't spell out a victory for Golden State, but they did what they had to do, because if Golden State would have lost that game last night, you all, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Memphis Grizzlies would have leapfrogged them for that spot, and then you would have been talking about the Lakers versus the Grizzlies. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. The Grizzlies are a much scarier team to me in a play-in tournament than the Golden State Warriors, even though I know Steph can get hot. But if you're a great team, like the Lakers play defensively, they know how to take people out of the game. And the way they did that with Julius Randle, even though he did his thing, in key moments, they knew how to take him out the game. They knew where to come on the double, and their ball rotations were great on the defensive end of the floor, just closing out on shooters and things of that nature. But Steph Curry, that's a person that I feel like if they crowd him, get him flustered, double team him, which is easier said than done, you know, kind of keep the ball out of his hands, then they definitely have a good chance of winning, because at the end of the day, we're not worried about an Oubre when you got Anthony Davis, Drummond, and a Gasol, because the Lakers just have too much length and too much size for the Golden State Warriors to even have to deal with. And with the Lakers having so much length and so much size, then it's just going to be very difficult for the Golden State Warriors to ink out that victory, especially when it's a lot on the line like that. And with that being said, the Lakers played with their back against the wall yesterday too, and you see how that came out for them. And even minus short so many people, they were still able to pull out the victory. Now, one thing of concern is, of course, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, every time he hit the ground or every time something happened, you just like, Lord have mercy. So it looks like they were massaging his groin or his inner thigh last night. And I thought maybe at one point when he went to the basket, maybe he pulled his groin and irritated it. And we all know a groin injury is terrible. And I know he played through it, but that's different than playing through it and having all your momentum and using it than actually going home, going to bed, and then waking up in the morning to see how that groin actually feels, because we all know what that groin injury did to LeBron a couple seasons ago. And a groin injury is something that can linger and be very painful and really prohibits your movement and your ability to be able to keep up on defense and keep your man in front of you. And it also limits your ability of being able to attack the basket in the way that Anthony Davis is capable of attacking the basket. So if anybody, throughout the day who may be watching the show this morning, if you found out more on Anthony Davis and to his injury status and how serious it is. I know after the game he said he could play tonight, or maybe he would sit it out, just depending on how he felt this morning, which is not necessarily good news. So you know that it was giving him a lot of discomfort, but hopefully the training staff, maybe it was just a slight little pull. The training staff can do what they have to do. But in all honesty, against the Houston Rockets, even though you want LeBron James and Anthony Davis to get that cohesiveness of playing together with one another, it's not like they haven't played together before. So, if it takes Anthony Davis to rest another game just so he can get time to heal up just a little bit more and let LeBron James come back tonight, and that'll give LeBron James more playing time with Drummond, then I think the Lakers will be just fine to win tonight. And at the end of the day, I don't really think their main concern is trying to leapfrog. I don't think their main concern is trying to leapfrog Portland. But at the end of the day, just like I said before, Portland has a very, very hard route in closing it out, because they have to play Utah, they have to play Phoenix, and they have to play Denver. And they could easily lose a couple of those games or all three of those games. But Portland is a good team, and maybe Dame Dollar knows what they have to do, and they can win all three of those games. But since the Memphis Grizzlies did put the murder and the beat down on Dallas Mavericks last night, actually, I don't know if anybody is aware of this, but Portland actually leapfrogged Dallas from the 6th to the 5th seed. So, they could be very well looking at facing the Clippers in the first round. But of course, the Clippers and the Nuggets keep leapfrogging each other and switching back and forth places too. So at the end of the day, in my heart of hearts, I think the Lakers would want to secure that 6th seed, not because they're worried about the play-in tournament, but more so because that would give them an extra week of rest. And the way that they're beat up right now, then I think rest is the best thing for them. I know Vogel did mention yesterday in their conference, I think at the shoot-around, that Dennis Schroeder will play the last 2 games of the season. His health and safety protocol time will be up, and he'll be able to go ahead and play the last 2 games of the season to kind of get the Lakers in a rhythm, having their starting point guard back on the floor. So that'll be real interesting to see. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Lakers are concerned. I don't think their concern is a play-in game, because they're more than capable of beating Golden State or either beating San Antonio. If they happen to lose to Golden State, they can easily beat San Antonio if that's the case. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think rest is going to be the best thing for them. So they're going to go out, I think, and try to win all of these games, especially with LeBron James coming back, and he said he's feeling good and he's pushing off the ankle, and that he is going to be able to come back and be the LeBron James that we all know, the LeBron James that we all know is more than capable of leading this Lakers team to another championship. And on the Eastern Conference side of the bracket, we got James Harden, who is expected to be a game-time decision tonight. And with that being said, I don't know if you all know, but Kyrie took a nice shot to the face, where he might, I don't know what his status is, but he could potentially miss the next couple games too. So you're still going to be out without the team chemistry of all 3 of those great players on the floor together at one time. So that's something that, is unfortunate for the Brooklyn Nets, because they're trying to build that team chemistry. But at the end of the day, the way it's looking is the Brooklyn Nets are more than likely going to have to play the Boston Celtics in that first round. And that would have been somewhat of a dangerous matchup for them had Jaylen Brown not injured himself for the year. But unfortunately, Jaylen Brown did injure himself for the year. And with that being said, that should be an easy first-round victory for the Brooklyn Nets if that's who they end up matching up with, which I'm pretty sure that's who they will match up with. So that'll give time for Kyrie, Harden, and KD to all get healthy and move into that second round, where they still might have a little bit of problems because they will be going against the Milwaukee Bucks, because they never secured that #1 seed, so they'll have a tough road to the finals. Maybe not that first round. If they were playing Atlanta that first round, then I think Atlanta could actually get them a little bit of a scare. Not beat them, but get them a little bit of a scare. And then, of course, they're going to have to get through Milwaukee and Philly in the next 2 rounds. So we'll see how that works out for them. And back to the western side of the bracket, if Dallas ends up keeping that 6th spot and plays the Clippers in the first round, the Lakers may never have to play the Clippers, because we all know Dallas gave the Clippers somewhat of a scare last year, and I think Dallas is a vastly improved team from last year to this year. And you know what they can do, and we all saw what the Clippers did against the Nuggets. So at the end of the day, like I've been telling y'all all this time, I'm not concerned with any team in the Western Conference being able to beat the Lakers. I'm not concerned with any team in the 7-game series. Now, in a 1-game series, anything can happen, but I think when you got a LeBron James, you got to realize, what is LeBron James' numbers in Game 7s, and what is his record in Game 7s. Go back and check the record. So this play-in game would be like, essentially like a playoff game, and potentially be like a Game 7, because if you lose, you could go home. So at the end of the day, I don't think LeBron James is really concerned about it. So I'm not really concerned about it. I'm just more concerned about the Lakers being healthy and ready to go. So with all that being said, I did hear some hater stuff on the web yesterday coming from Max Kellerman in comparisons to Michael Jordan. And we all know how I feel about Jordan and LeBron, but I'm gonna make a whole nother video about that later on, maybe this evening, because I got some things to say, because some of the things he said was ludicrous and really ruffled my feathers, and a lot of people just put a bad narrative on things and don't really understand historical significance of some of the things that LeBron James has done and gone through, and that Michael Jordan as well. But that's a topic for another day. So as always, this is your boy B New. I'm saying right on to the real, and much love to the haters. I'm out.